What's going on, guys? Got a new video for you today, one I'm really excited about and one that takes me back to my childhood. Being a kid and growing up in the 80s, you were in either one of two camps. You either had a ZX Spectrum or you had a Commodore 64. Or if you were lucky, you had both. And through the course of my childhood, myself and my brother managed to have both of these computers. And I always favoured the Commodore 64. I loved the way that the Commodore 64 worked. I loved the way it looked. And it was just an absolutely awesome piece of equipment. So when I noticed that Retro Games Limited were doing a full-size reproduction of the Commodore 64 along the lines of the C64 Mini that came out last year, I did a video on that one. I'll put the link somewhere up here. The C64 full-size console, I placed my pre-order as soon as I could do, and on the day of delivery Amazon sent me a nice little email telling me that my order had been unexpectedly delayed. I could expect my package in 10 to 12 days, which wasn't good enough for me. I wanted it on the day of release. I'm a big kid and I wanted it straight away. Knowing Amazon as I do, it's probably sat on a trailer somewhere waiting to be delivered into one of their fulfillment centres. So I cancelled my order, placed my order with another retailer. One day later it arrived, and look what we have got here. Oh, almost hit myself in the face. The C64. This is a full-size reproduction by Retro Games Limited. It looks exactly like the C64, the Commodore 64 did, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this bad boy. Firstly, the packaging of this thing is absolutely amazing. Very similar to the C64 mini packaging that we got last year. This thing looks great. It's got some weight about it as well. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be quite as heavy, but I'm wondering if they've actually reproduced the Commodore 64 in terms of the weight as well, because this does have some weight in the packaging. I cannot wait. I am so excited. This thing looks amazing. Let's get this thing open. So we've got two cut tabs here and here. And let's have a look at this. Look at that. This thing looks absolutely awesome. Very clicky, just like the original Commodore 64. That looks fantastic. So we've got the logo here. It isn't raised like the original Commodore 64 logo was, but certainly captures the feel of the original. The power light here, and again, this here is just a sticker, it isn't raised in any way. So this keyboard definitely captures the feel of the original Commodore 64. That actually certainly got a good weight about it. It doesn't feel cheap, certainly feels like it's got something about it. Definitely has got something about it. This thing, oh, look at this. I can't believe I'm going from happily using a Mac on a regular basis back to a Commodore 64. Look at this. This is absolutely fantastic. And on the back here we've got a power, which is mini USB, HDMI out, and then a USB socket. On the side here we've got three USB sockets, and then just a clicky on-off button, which also I think doubles as a menu button. So we're going to put that there for the time being, and then look into this box here. So in this box here, the C64. In this box we have the joystick, and this is the joystick I mentioned. They've gone for a proper, real, retro micro switch joystick. It feels and sounds like the ones I remember. Completely micro switch C64. Of course, it is USB. But that is, I'm so glad they've actually gone back to a micro switch joystick. With the C64 Mini that came out last year, it didn't have a micro switch joystick, and you could tell. You really could tell. Well, that is absolutely awesome. I'm so happy with this. That does look amazingly cool. So we'll sit you there. What else do we have? We have got the quick guide in the style of the original C64. A power brick. We finally get a power brick with this. So no more scratching around for our Apple, Samsung or mobile phone bricks. A power cable, USB to USB mini, an HDMI cable. And that is pretty much it, nothing else in there. So that is it. Now I don't have an original Commodore 64 to do a side-by-side comparison of, but the only thing I can see that's really any different is the C64 button here doesn't have the Commodore logo on it, and that's because this isn't made by Commodore. But it does seem to be, it's a Commodore 64. It is a Commodore 64. Now I do have the C64 Mini, which came out last year, to put side by side, and if we have a look, that is the C64 Mini, and as you remember, that one does not have a working keyboard. Got two USB sockets, and on the back HDMI and micro USB for the power and for the TV connection. But that pretty much is the C64 Mini against the C64. And whilst I love this little console, it really is tiny, it's got a nice weight to it, and it's got some things. This to me is a Commodore 64. This is the closest thing you can have to owning a brand new Commodore 64 in 2019. Okay, so we've got to do this properly, just like when I was a kid. We've got to set this up in the living room on the main TV and with it all on the floor. Okay, so we're onto our main menu, so we can either log into the carousel, which we've had before. The carousel is like we had in the C64 Mini, or we can enter classic mode, which boots up as a Commodore 64. We'll go into carousel mode first and we'll have a look at that. And then we're back to a very familiar menu. Now we're going to check our display settings. And again, with this, as with the C64 Mini, we can either have pixel perfect, we can go 4:3 European, which really gives you that old square feel of the games that we had back in the 80s. North American 4:3, and then we've got our CRT options at the bottom, pixel perfect, European 4:3, or North American 4:3. I'm going to go European 4:3, simulating a CRT monitor, or TV as it was back then. Not many people had monitors. So we'll select that one, and let's go back. So the menu, the carousel as they call it, is very, very easy to navigate, very easy to use, and we'll just try that game there. Let's see on my TV, you can, there we go, Boulder Dash. And I'm pretty sure I did do this game when I reviewed the C64 Mini. I just love the clickiness of the joystick with it now being a micro switch. These were the games that really used to test your endurance and your wrist, because they made you work. So we're not going to complete, we'll just complete in one event I think in this time. And yeah, back to the old enter your name. We can use the keyboard now, so we'll enter my name and pick country. Let's go West Germany, just in tribute. Well, Germany as it is now, but shows the age of this thing. West Germany back then, and go like crazy to get up the hill. Left, right, we need to get that speed up, and then we should get to our first shooting. Okay. Need to load the bullet, and I'm terrible at this. Hey, got one. No, missed. 1 out of 5, not good. I'm pretty much a given. And you'll remember, you may remember in the video for the C64 Mini. Let's try surfing. I love surfing. Don't do enough of it. Okay. There we go. We'll go up and down. Build some speed up. We'll try and do a jump. No. Wipe out. There we go, got a jump in. And wiped out again. Rookie definitely, let's start the race. Please type your name. I liked your name back in the 80s. Okay, I'm playing against the computer, and the top one. Again, Microsoft joystick. Again, microswitch joystick. Absolutely amazing having that clicky feeling. It does take you back. I'm playing a Commodore 64, well, the next best thing to a Commodore 64 in 2019, and this is taking me back to my childhood. It's true what they say, if you wait long enough, good things do come back to you. And don't get me wrong, I love the C64 Mini, but this one we're having the working keyboard, we're having the microswitch joystick. Somehow it just feels like playing a Commodore 64 again. I love this, I really do love this. So let's go into classic mode now. And that is where we boot up our Commodore 64. Look at that. That home screen takes me back so far. Really basic program. Run the program, please. Subscribe. One thing I did want to look at is if we go into the settings and go to computer model, we can change that to the VIC-20. So if we exit out of that after selecting VIC-20, then if we go into classic mode, we've got our VIC-20 CBM Basic V2 3583 bytes free. Wow, those were the days. So what are my overall thoughts about the C64? Well, the C64 is probably the closest you're going to get in this day and age to owning a Commodore 64 without buying an original Commodore 64 and then either converting it to run on modern TVs or monitors or digging out a really old CRT TV. The 64 games that are preloaded on it, there's some great ones, there's some not so great ones, but you do have the ability to be able to download your own and play them from USB, and that makes it really ultimately as good as a Commodore 64. It has a fully functioning keyboard, which was the main gripe people had about the C64 Mini, which, don't get me wrong, I really like to still do, and it captured the essence of the C64. Having a full-size C64, it's kind of like owning a piece of the past. Other features I like is the Commodore 64 Basic, and with a fully functioning keyboard, it makes it so easy to write your own programs. You can even save them onto USB and run them. So anyone that wants to code in Commodore Basic from back in the 80s, you can do that. You've also got the added bonus of having VIC-20 Basic on there as well, and that just gives it that little bit more. It's something that they didn't really need to include, but it is another nice little touch that they did. They put a lot of thought into the C64, and I think for the price tag of, in the UK it's £110, I think for the price tag it really is a very, very good investment for anyone that grew up in the 80s and fondly remembers the Commodore 64. Don't know how long the novelty value will last, but it just looks cool and it would look amazing in anyone's collection or on anyone's display. This, to me, is awesome. The Commodore 64, it just holds a place in my heart, and I'm sure in a lot of people's hearts. These are the computers that we grew up with. They're a true piece of history. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Push that thumbs up button if you like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I really would like you to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And leave in the comments down below, have you got the C64 Mini? Do you still own an original Commodore 64? What were you using back when you were a kid? Was it a Commodore 64? Was it a ZX Spectrum? Was it an Amiga? Was it a Mac? You tell me. Let me know what computer you used to use and what your favourite retro computer is. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again for another video real soon.